Good morning, Lola. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Very good, very good. So this is the first of one of recordings that I'm planning to do. It's a passion project of mine. It's basically interviewing the people in my life, the very important people in my life, and of course, my Lola is a very important person in my life. Matilde Maramara. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yes,
Apparently, I don't pronounce it right very well. Um, So, for those of you that don't know, Lola is my father's mother, who was born in the Philippines, and you know, uh, I'm just going to start off asking some questions. Basically, just dive straight into it, and we'll take it from there. Okay, Lola?
okay.
All right, very good. So I sent you some questions earlier on, so you could prepare yourself. But
Right,
um,
yeah.
yeah, that's right. So, what about? Let's start off with this one. Tell us where you were born.
Well, I'll tell you that I was born in Cebu City, although we lived in Leyte. That's where our farm was.
Okay.
But Cebu was always the center of everything.
Really?
Yeah, because after Manila, Cebu became a very important port.
Mm. Okay.
So, and I have like five siblings. My parents have
Five.
five children.
Yep.
Our eldest brother, and then 15 years after, my sister came.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big, big gap.
So so there was
It
four of
was,
you, and then after that, 15 years later, your sister came.
my brother came first,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
15 years later, my sister, my older sister, was born.
Oh wow. Big gap.
Yeah, yeah, it was like a father figure to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 6 years later, that's when I came around.
Hmm.
And then later on, my brother 2 years after, and my sister another 2 years after.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, so big gap between the first
that's
few
true. That
kids.
was
Yeah.
really a big gap.
Yeah, that's a big gap.
Yeah, and you know what? I went to school in a boarding school
Mm-hmm.
because we lived in a farm in Leyte, and there were no good schools there, and my parents lived in a farm,
Mm-hmm.
so they sent us to boarding school. And I
Yeah.
lived in, and I, and this boarding school was run by Belgian sisters.
Belgian.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
they
know
spoke
that
English.
they spoke English. Okay.
Yeah.
And so how far away was the farm from your the boarding house from your house?
No, because our farm was in Leyte,
Mm-hmm.
but we were sent to Cebu to
Wow.
go to boarding school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I stayed in that boarding school for 8 years. We only went home for Christmas and for the summer holidays. I mean, the in between school time.
So twice a year you went home, and that's it.
Yeah, that's right.
From what age to what age was that?
I was like about 8 years old when I started.
Wow.
Yeah, that is true.
That's
But
a
that time because people were living in farms,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
and
That was
yeah, and
normal? Was that normal?
yeah, that was very normal because there were no good schools then at the time.
So would you
Even
say yeah.
oh, Manila, only in Manila were the good schools.
Yeah.
But then you go to college when you go to Manila.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are in the Visayas, you go to Cebu.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea. So from 8 to 16 until you graduated high
Uh,
school, I guess.
from 8 to 15.
15.
And then at the time, my parents decided, maybe they were thinking, we don't have any time with our children, so they decided to come and live in Cebu. And that's where we all stayed. Because, in Cebu City, there's no boarding school.
Yeah.
And that place where we were is about like a few kilometers away from the city. That was the only boarding school.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So these girls from all over Visayas were all there. We were more than about 100 children there.
Wow. Okay. So
Yes.
your father was Manuel Coro Martinez, and your
That's
mother
right.
was Rosario Barredo Bayot.
That's right.
So can you tell
From
us a little
Manila.
bit about your parents?
Well, my mother was really, she was really like our role model because she ran the farm, she paid the salaries of the tenants, and she sold the produce of the land.
Mm-hmm.
She did everything. My father was just giving the orders.
So okay, yeah, right. So
That's
your mother
kind.
administered everything.
That's like the matriarchal kind of family.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And she missed her family, she missed her children.
Mm-hmm.
So she would, if she went to Cebu to sell the produce there from the farm, she would she would come and visit us
Hmm.
in because it was in Karkar.
Yeah. What kind of what did you grow on your farm? What kind of farm was it?
We had like it was like a 500-hectare farm.
Mm-hmm.
We he inherited that from his father.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because at that time they gave these lots to the Filipinos,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
just like what they did here in Australia.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so we planted sugar, rice, corn, and everything else that you can think of.
Wow.
Sugar was because there was a sugar mill. There were two
Mm.
sugar mills in Ormoc. That's where we lived. And practically the whole Martinez family lived in Leyte at the time.
Yeah. Wow.
My father, brothers and sisters. They
Okay.
had their own farms too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so your mother seemed like a very able, organized type. And what about your father? What was he like?
Well, my father was really, he was the old kind of father that he is not really affectionate with his children, although
Mm.
we respected him.
Yeah.
But he is like, it's my mother really who gave us everything, that she loved us. She made you feel that she loved us. But my father was not really the father that's why he said, you are the modern father nowadays because you're involved with your family.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was pretty normal back in your day, though, right? For
Yeah,
the
that
father
is
to be a
very,
little
very
bit
normal at
more
the time.
aloof of the children, right?
Exactly, that's true.
Yeah,
It was really. That's why I think we got that. I think from the Chinese because they're also matriarchal at that
yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Gotcha.
Mhm.
And Cebu at that time, you said it was a very very busy
Important
place,
port.
very important after Manila, probably, right? There's probably the
Yeah,
most
yeah,
important place
yeah.
after Manila in the Philippines.
And
Um,
many rich people live in Cebu
yeah.
and Leyte also.
Mm-hmm.
All those places there
Yeah.
in the Visayas region.
So when you're at 8 years in boarding school, what do you do to? I mean, I know it's a long time, 8 years, but what do you do to pass the time there? You know, are you forced to study the entire time, or Did you have
It's
some
study.
time to play?
Yeah, we went to school,
Mm.
and
Yep.
then in between we went to study. We had a study room where all of us were sent there to do our homework and all that.
Yep.
And then, yeah, we lived a very normal kind of life. I
Yeah.
mean, we were supposed to be there, so that's it.
Was it like Harry Potter? I don't know if you've seen the Harry Potter movies, but was it like that where there was hundreds of you, and we all lived and played together, and you were all very close.
Yeah, well, that's so true.
Yeah,
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 because even after we did not see it, but then because of the war, we were like all disbanded. We did not get in touch anymore with our friends.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was your favorite subject in school?
In school,
Yeah.
I think it was literature because I used to like short stories and things like that.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Literature. So you used to like reading short stories and writing short
Yeah.
stories?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to read. Even up to now, I'm still reading.
What book are you reading now? Are you reading any books?
I don't read books because
Yeah.
they're too long.
Yeah.
I read the magazines and the newspapers. I can't
Yeah.
anything that I get hold of.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. When you were a teenager, what did you do to pass the time? I know we talked about school, but in your time off, when you're at home, what did you do in the Philippines to pass the time?
You know what? Whenever it was Christmas time, we went straight back to the farm.
And you worked, or did you play, or?
And then we help there as much as we can, like taking care of all those things that you're supposed to do at home.
Yep. Yep.
And then before you know it, we had to go back to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the Philippines at that time, because I only know the Philippines, as you know, I was born in 1980, so I don't really, and I left in 88, so I don't really know a lot about it, so to speak. But in that time, did you have like maids and drivers, and was that a normal thing to have in the Philippines?
Yeah, very, very much so.
Yeah.
Because we live in the farm, we have all
The tenants and
the
stuff.
maids that we wanted, and all the tenants were there.
Yeah.
You can just call them if you need something.
Yep.
My mother even had a 1-hectare garden.
Wow. Just for the house.
Full flowers.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
because she can't hire anybody there to do all the dirty work for her.
That's my kind of gardening. I like
Yeah.
the sound of that. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I had a question from my cousin Janice, who you know very well. She's very interested to know about your time just before, during, and after the war. What can you tell us about that period of your life?
When war was declared, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, we thought, that's not come. We will not be affected because we're too far away. But then the next day, they bombed Manila and all the bases there in Luzon.
Yep.
And even Cebu. They also bombed Cebu.
Wow.
And yeah. So we were really that's why I was telling Janice, I can really relate to the refugees because we became like refugees. Before you know it, the Japanese invaded also Cebu and took over the whole Cebu. And so we left back to go to the farm because we already lived in Cebu at the time. But then we thought maybe my mother thought maybe you should go back to the farm because at least we can have food there. We won't have to worry about food and anything like that. We will be okay over there.
Yeah.
And so they're staying there for like a few months, maybe about 6 months. And we were really doing well, but then came the Filipino soldiers who were disbanded. They became bandits.
Right.
Yeah, and then they would try to get money from the well-to-do people.
Like extort them.
Yeah, extort money. And if you ask questions, they kill you. And there's no policeman, there's nobody, no authority there to take over.
Yeah. So was your family extorted by these bandits?
Yeah. They always came to us asking for money, and then they even raped these the women.
Really?
My uncle on the next farm, they even killed him and his son. And so many people were killed by these bandits, you know. So we were in between the Japanese army and the bandits. So we had to flee. In the middle of the night, we went to the next island just to get away from there.
Yeah.
And before you know it, they looted the house and burned our house, burned the warehouses, burned the tractors, and burned everything. So from being rich, we became poor immediately, you know.
So you had
It's
all
like,
your brothers and sisters and parents together, and then
yeah,
you all presumably your parents decided to flee for safety to another island.
that's right.
And it sounded like it was the right thing to do in the wake of all of these bandits. You know, who knows what would have happened if you were in the way of
That's
their
right,
looting.
yeah. And then we took a banca.
Mm-hmm.
We had 3 bancas to bring us to the other island. And then they were just rowing because, you know, there were no boats or anything at that time anymore.
How far away was the other island?
Well, you know, if you look at the map of the Philippines, there's a little island there named Cambotes Island. That's near Cebu.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's high seas too, you know.
Yeah.
But we were just lucky that there were no big waves. It was so, the water was really so calm.
Mm.
We were able to reach there on that island. But then, you know, when we were on that island, everybody felt so insecure. Although I was only like 16 years old at the time,
Yeah.
I just knew what. I never made any decisions. I just did what everybody told us to do. You know, it's like my eldest brother and my mother.
Mm-hmm.
My sister was also the one who tried to think of what to do and where to go. But then we decided to go to Cebu City because, you know, the Japanese military police was there. So there was like peace and order going on there. So we thought maybe that's the best place for us to go.
Mm.
So we hired a sailboat to bring us back to Cebu.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had nothing. We had no clothes. We had very few clothes, you know.
How long were you on? Sorry, let me back up. So when you arrived on, what did you say the name of the island was?
Camotes.
Camotes. When you arrived on Camotes, where did you stay?
We rented a house. There was a house there. We just rented the house, and that's where we lived. And then when we went to Cebu, we also rented another house there because they commandeered our house there in Cebu that time that we lived there before the war.
Yeah.
Yeah, they commandeered all these houses, you know.
Yeah.
And they became like the headquarters or offices of the Japanese.
They just walked in and kicked you out.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then they commanded all the cars and all the buses. So everybody was just riding a bicycle. That was the only means of transportation.
And how long were you on Camotes Island?
We stayed only like, I think, about a month before we decided to go to Cebu.
Yeah.
But once when we were in Cebu, and you know, I was even telling Janice that because the Japanese, we never had any Japanese friends. We had no idea about who these Japanese people were, you know.
Yeah.
You don't know their culture, you don't understand their language. It's very hard to get along with them.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just wandering around thinking what to do and where to go.
Mm-hmm.
We had to buy everything in the black market, you know.
Yeah.
Like rice and food, and we had no electricity because the Japanese were the only ones who had electricity.
So they were, yeah.
The Cebu became very important because the the general of the Japanese army, was stationed in Cebu. The general of the whole Asian command.
He was
He was
stationed
stationed
there.
in Cebu.
Mm.
And then when the Americans were already aggressive and trying to go to Tokyo,
Mm-hmm.
he committed suicide there in Cebu.
Oh wow. So did
Yeah.
he? Yeah. I guess that's in line with that Japanese mentality of death before capture kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Because it's like they're ashamed of that they could not do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there was your father alive during this time?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
was sick, but he was sick at that time. He had a stroke. So
Yeah.
it was my mother. And it was during the war when he died.
During the war, he died. How did he die?
And then later on, after a year maybe, my mother also died. And then it was my brother who took over the farm. And he became greedy,
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. He tried to kick us all out of there. He will not give us money or anything like that, which was like we were entitled because we were children too.
Yeah, you inherited you all inherited the farm,
That's right.
presumably. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh wow. So what happened to what happened to that particular brother? Is that Ricardo? Was that Ricardo?
Yeah, that is Ricardo. Yeah.
Did he still?
Yeah, because at the time when the war started, he was already married and he had a family already.
Okay.
And then when my parents decided to go live in Cebu because they wanted to be near us, he took over the farm and gave money to my mother.
Okay.
Janice, I see there in the messenger, Janice wants to start a video chat with you.
He wants to start a video chat with me?
Yeah, no.
Oh, with you.
She doesn't know that we are talking here.
Tell her one interview at a time. You're hot property, Lola.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So you know what that's why I was thinking, I can relate to the refugees because you're rich and the next day you're so poor and you don't know where to go and what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, just working on your instincts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a few questions about refugees coming up later on. I haven't written them down, but there was just something popped into my mind there. With the refugee crisis.
Because the refugees they were rich too.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
they were driven away from their homes.
Okay. So at the end of the war, how did you find out that the Allied forces had won the war? Do you remember how you found out?
During the war, the Americans, there was a guerrilla force in Cebu and Mindanao.
A guerrilla force of Americans?
Yeah.
Oh, like the Navy SEALs kind of thing?
Filipino guerrilla force.
Oh, okay.
Then submarines came from all the way from Australia, bringing ammunition and food and everything else. If batteries are trying so we could communicate with the guerrillas can communicate with the American forces in Australia at that time.
So when you say guerrilla force, you mean a pro-Allied guerrilla force against the Japanese?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Against the Japanese.
Yeah.
But they were all on their own. I mean, there's no headquarters or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're just walking in the streets.
Yeah, hiding in the trees.
They already had they had machine guns and things like that,
Yeah.
Because they're being supplied by the Americans.
Yeah. And how did the war end for you? Like, what was there a big parade out of town? Did the Japanese pack up all of their stuff
You
and
know
then
what?
just leave? Or
When the Americans came, oh my God, everybody was so happy. But then, you can really tell the difference. That's why I even said, no wonder Japan had to really bow down because, they have to accept the defeat because it's like the Americans came in pity boats, and even now that I'm thinking about it, I remember, have you heard of the kamikaze?
yes,
The ones there, they came from Cebu and tried to bomb all these,
nice.
there was a fight there in Ormoc Bay that they tried to bomb like the naval forces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They tried to dive their planes into the Navy.
Doing like 16-year-old Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so after the war, when did you meet your husband Lolo?
Yeah.
Dodo.
You know what? I met him in during the war. During the war, the young people always look for a way to get together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So we always had like get-togethers, and then because our parents usually they know the other people's parents. I mean, like everybody already during that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I met him in one of those get-togethers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then five months later, we got married. Everybody like started to get married. So everybody was maybe so insecure.
Yeah, yeah, and that was the start of the baby boomer generation, right? That's
That's right.
how they all
Because
started.
you
Yeah,
don't know if you're gonna live tomorrow.
yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it. So do you remember how he how did you first meet him?
I met him
Like
in
at the
one of
party,
those.
but do you
Yeah.
remember your first conversation specifically?
You know what his friends were always telling him, because there were other guys also who like to to be friends with me and trying
Yes.
to chat with me, and they liked me, but they said, I think you make a good pair. Everybody was telling him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then my parents also liked him because he was a likable fellow,
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
and he came from good family, so
Mm-hmm.
he was really accepted by my family.
Yeah.
So
How,
we didn't,
yeah.
because that was during hard times. Maybe we were thinking maybe she's better off if she gets married.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
How old were you, and how old was he when you guys met?
I got married when I was 18,
Mm-hmm.
and he was 25.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was in Manila to go to school in university.
Oh,
But then he came to Cebu for a holiday, and he got stuck up there because of the war.
because of the war. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And do you remember? Do you remember how he proposed, or how he asked you to marry him?
You know what? He sent me a letter, but I really don't even have it anymore. I have no more really things like, because always going from one place to the other,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
lose so many things.
Yes. Very
Yeah.
mobile.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
So he asked you by letter, did he? By
yeah,
mail?
he sent me a letter, and then I showed it to my mother.
Mm.
So he said, so why don't we just get married? Because my sister already got married
Mm-hmm.
before me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she had a boyfriend. She had a boyfriend who was in the army. But he did not come home when the Americans came. When the Japanese came, they were like, he was a part of the Bataan that march, you know.
What's that?
But all these soldiers from Filipino and American soldiers from Corridor, because they were all stuck up there in Corridor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then they surrendered to the Japanese. They were made to walk from Bataan to Manila
Wow.
by the Japanese. Yeah. And if you walk because you get very tired, Japanese will just shoot you because they don't have time. You know,
Yeah.
they don't have time to take care of so many people.
Yeah. I guess it's.
Yes.
Yeah, it's part of that cruelty that a lot of people saw during
That's
the war.
war, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
cannot complain. To whom do you complain?
yeah. You can't
Yeah.
ask for the manager, can you?
Yeah, you have nobody to complain to. And
Yeah.
anyway, they don't even understand what you're saying because they speak Japanese.
Right. Yeah.
And you know what? You were asking me about the Americans when they came.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the Japanese, I think they had only one uniform. You know, they take a bath and they have like a drum. They put themselves in the drum and then there is a fire underneath to make the water warm.
Mm-hmm.
They just they just sit around there for like hours while they wash their clothes, waiting for their clothes to dry. When the clothes are dry, they come out of the drum and then put the clothes back on. You know, they were really poor.
Yeah.
You can't really imagine
Yeah.
why because maybe I don't because you know your enemy is the United States of America and
Yeah.
you're just a small. That's like what's going on now with North Korea,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. 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 Don't have the resources that your enemy does.
And
Yeah.
then how can you expect? Like 2 years, the war was going on. The Japanese were very aggressive. They took over all those islands in Southeast Asia. But then the Americans, when they came, they drove the Japanese out of the whole place.
Yeah.
You know,
So was
and
it?
you know how poor the Japanese were. The Americans they have this kit, you know, with their biscuits and things like that.
Like a survival
You
or
can-
ration kit?
Yeah, but the Japanese, my God, you know what? It's like what they had was like one piece of rice that they put it like it's like a croquet,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It's like and they put a little piece of meat there inside. And it's all like this, and that's all what they eat. They eat anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were so poor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so dirty and so. And then the Americans came. They were really well dressed. And it's like a movie
Yeah.
right in front of you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's was there an American air base in Cebu? Was there
It was,
any sort of
Yeah,
American
the Americans
military
were like
bases?
everywhere in the
Yeah.
Philippines.
Yeah.
But there was the base in Ormoc.
Okay.
That's what they was that was the American Armada was.
Okay.
There
Naval
were
base.
petty boats there to bring you everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
And big naval ships, you know.
hmm What were the during the war? What were the Americans like? Were they good to the Filipinos when they were there?
They were really good to the Filipinos, and you know they speak English, and
Yeah.
the Filipinos they speak English, so they understand each other. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that because of those wars, there's always been a really really close connection between the Philippines and the Americans. There's always
Yeah. But you know, even before the war, because we were under the American rule
yeah.
during that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when the Americans came, it's like you're being really liberated from an enemy you don't even know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you met Lola during the war, and then towards the end of the war, you got married. What was your wedding day like?
What was the word?
Your wedding day. Did you have
Uh,
a Did you have a wedding day, or did
it
you
was
go to?
just a, it was just a, it was really just a few relatives, who
Mm-hmm.
came to attend it.
Yeah.
Just my family. No big fanfare, although I had a wedding gown.
Yeah, yeah. I guess during that time, people are still recovering financially and emotionally from the
Yeah,
war.
you know what? The only way that we made a living was through buying and selling.
Mm.
You buy whatever things you have in the house, anything that's like jewelry or plates or whatever, anything at all, even clothes was being sold, and then just to be able to buy like a sack of rice. The food that we ate there was like rice, mongo, and dried fish.
Yeah,
That's all what we ate.
yeah.
But we were healthy. We did not get sick.
Well, yeah. That's the funny thing. That's a very healthy diet. It's a
Yeah,
very healthy diet.
it's not like you have to have a balanced diet or whatever. Everything that's all what we ate. Maybe because of the mongo beans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because you buy that with the sack.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
very
Um.
hard, very hard times.
So you got married, and what was marriage like for you? I mean, with
You
Lola
know
Lola.
what? Because my my Lola was really a good guy. I mean, he was really a good father, a good husband, and he was easy to get along with. He's not like he just had fun with his family.
Yeah.
He liked to bring the children to. We would all go out on picnics, and we ate in the restaurant. We have a big table for the restaurant for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then he will tell his children, you know what, when I was young, the girls were really going crazy over me. They will laugh at him. And then he said, every time they come and talk to me, they feel like going to they have to pee. And then while he was telling that story to everybody there we were in the restaurant, here comes one of these girls there that they used to. I mean, one of our friends, and he said, "Oh, hello! I'm sure the whole family is here." And she was talking. Yeah. Oh, how old are you? Okay. And then she said, "Well, excuse me, I have to go to the toilet." I told you that. I told you you didn't believe me.
uh, oh man, he sounds like my kind of guy. I tell you,
Yeah, he
there's
was
a.
really. Yeah, he was really. I was just a teenager when I got married, but I learned to be just like him.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah,
great.
but
Um.
we had so many children. We had a hard time.
Oh, really?
But yeah, we had a hard time, but we never talked about money. We
Mm.
never, and even Bo now when we are talking about our life before, she will say, we were not rich, but we did not feel poor.
Mm.
Yeah, because the children, I had good children really. I
Mm.
mean, every day they go to school. It's not like I have to get them out of bed to go to school. No, they just accept it. They have to go to school. And
Yeah.
then after school they come home right away. They don't go out with their friends.
Yeah.
But it was the friends who came to our house. Our house was always full of people. Their
Yeah.
friends and their cousins. And
Yeah.
then they're all playing the guitar.
My dad often tells me the story. Well, not story, but he always used to say that there was always a guest at the dinner table at our house. At least one. There was always someone at the house.
And you know what? They will even sleep in the, because there's no place anymore because we had like 8 children there. There's no place anymore. They sleep in the couch or they sleep anywhere.
Yeah.
They just enjoy the family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then their friends, everybody's friends became everybody's friends, even up to now.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Just it sounds like a really, really happy house that you had there.
It's a really happy house.
Yeah.
Although they did not have money. It's Tita Bong is the one, you know. She is really like sort of aggressive person, you know. I mean, she can convince you to do anything.
Yeah.
And then when it's time to pay the tuition fees, and then sometimes I don't have the money to pay the tuition and they cannot take the test. It is Bong who will go to the principal and tell the principal, oh, my mom will pay that, but not right now. Maybe next week.
Yeah.
But she to convince them. And it's like only really between Bong and me. The other children don't even know what they're talking about.
So yeah, I've noticed that about Tita Bong. She's Janice's mum, obviously, and very very outgoing, very strong personality. Yeah.
She is really, you know, she solves my problems. If I have problems, I call her. And she'll solve my problems.
Yeah.
She's thoughtful, and she's really thoughtful, even up to now.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you know, when I tell everyone I'm coming to New York, normally she's the first one to tell. Sends me her phone number, tells me I'm gonna come pick you up and do this and do that. Yeah, it's always Tita Bong. That's.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Everyone else is always very hospitable, but it's always Tita Bong that's, making plans immediately.
You know, because she belonged to a big family, but now she has only one child, and Janice doesn't want to go back to, because she has a good job in Australia. I was even telling Bo, Janice really, I think she will think twice before, because she has a good job in Indonesia.
Yeah.
It's a nice apartment paid for by the company, by the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She has a maid.
Yeah.
And she can travel anywhere she wants to go.
Yeah. Indonesia is a very easy place to travel in and out of. It's a big country.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Not a lot of people know, but it's the fourth most. I think it's the fourth most populated country in the world. It's the fourth most.
Was it Indonesia?
Yeah. After China, India, and America, it's Indonesia. Yeah. Such a small country by the size, but a lot of people.
I was telling Janice, I think you better go back to America, because you seem to look like an Indonesian now.
Yeah, she seems to be in costume quite often. Yeah. Okay, so what about you had 8 kids. How do you manage 8 children? You said they were good, but the eldest is Tita Inday, right?
Tito Buloy.
Tita Buloy, sorry, my bad. Tita Buloy, and the youngest is Tita Lau, who's no longer with us. But
Tito Buloy, he really inherited his father's talent for music, because their dad could not even read notes, but he played the piano, played the accordion, played the guitar.
Wow.
And so, and Buloy, he never had any music lesson.
Mm-hmm.
He learned it all by himself too.
Yeah.
In she had a piano teacher, but she wasn't interested in piano.
Yeah.
We had to look for her if the piano teacher was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it? How do you manage 8 children? I mean, it to me, I have 2 children, and it's tough.
Yeah.
8 children. What's the
But
philosophy behind?
but you know what? The older ones,
Mm,
they take care of the younger ones.
yeah.
Your dad was like, he was assigned as the tutor for the girls because he was good in math. So I told him, help them with their homework. So and he would do it willingly.
Yeah.
So they all sit there and you teach them their homework. So and then the older ones, you take care. They are always teasing in Dai because she had like some boyfriends and you tease her and tease her. And in detective, we snap the door and then she would cry there in it. But then I was just thinking, that's just like family life. That's like,
Yeah.
it's ordinary. It's not extraordinary, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, that's yeah. 8 kids is still. I
know.
guess a lot of them shared rooms and stuff like that. These days
That's
kids
true.
don't really
Yeah.
share rooms as much as they used to. But back in the day, I think they probably did. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 to a room.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
The boys were in their room and the girls were in their room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And you don't. We can skip over this question if you like, but you once told me that not all of the pregnancies went all the way through to
Yeah.
to birth.
Yeah,
Do you want
I
to
had
talk
a
about it, or
miscarriage.
yeah?
But that was only like a few weeks old.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Okay.
I just thought it was like sad, but I assumed children already. So it did not really, it was not really like traumatic for me.
Yeah.
It's just like life has to go on.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, you had enough on your plate that there was enough to keep you busy. Yep.
And you know what? When my husband and I live together, with 8 children, we have no time really to quarrel or to get angry at each other because our minds were always distracted by the children.
Yeah.
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 So you cannot really have a fight that will last for the next day or whatever.
Yeah, there's so much chaos going on and so much activity going on that you have to
Somebody
move on real
check,
quick.
You have to bring him to the hospital in
Yeah.
the middle of an argument.
Yeah.
So how can you go on with your argument? There's so many other things to do.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, you're living in the Philippines in Cebu, in Liloan, right? You settled in Liloan.
Later on, yeah.
What made you settle in Liloan?
Because we had that mine there, like calcium carbonate. We sold it to the glass factory,
Mm-hmm.
and then also to the feeds for the animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what kept us busy there.
Yeah. And
That was our livelihood there.
working
And then
in
later on,
Mm-hmm.
your Lola got sick. But there was no time really to. When I think of it, so I was really thinking about it. My God, I would drive him the whole day. And you know what? He's taking these pills because he was in pain. So he took these pills. I think they're like something like these drugs. I cannot remember now. It's like prednisone. I don't know if you heard that medicine.
Yep.
Yeah, he became so addicted to it. He would be energized, when he took those pills.
Yeah.
He would be so energized that he wants to stop. He wants me to drive everywhere. It's like, I'm already tired. I want to go home. No, he doesn't want to go home because he just wants, and let's have some ice cream here and there, whatever.
So what was he sick with? Because I mean the details for me are not entirely clear. But what did he get sick with?
He had like
Arthritis.
rheumatoid arthritis. His fingers were like already, yeah, you're stiff, and
Yeah.
but I think what really killed him were those because he became so addicted to these drugs,
Mm.
and then when we tried to stop it, he became so sick and so he had no energy at all. We had to bring him to the hospital, and the doctor was even telling me, "I think you had better just give him those pills again because that's the only way to really keep him alive."
Yeah. Right. Okay. That'd be interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. I guess the medicine wasn't as far as
that
an
is true.
advanced as it
Yeah,
is today.
that is true.
But
Yeah.
it's it sounds. Today, it would be unheard of for someone to die with complications around arthritis and medication, right? That you'd never hear that in this
Yeah,
day
that's
and
right.
age. Yeah, I guess it was just the times back then, and
Yeah, I mean, like medicine was it's something that you have to really make up your mind if you want to take it or if you don't want to or
mm,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So how long were you married in total when
For,
Lola passed
for
away?
40 years we were married.
40 years. Wow.
Yeah, and then he when he died, Tita and I sponsored me to go to the United States.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, that was really good because if I stayed in the Philippines, I would have been so miserable. But when I was, and then you asked me, did I have any plans to remarry? But then,
Yeah, that was one of my questions.
yeah, because I was like 58 years old when I became a widow.
Yeah. That's still pretty
Yeah.
young, right? That's not very
Because
old.
nowadays that was quite pretty young. But I still felt young at the time.
Mm.
But I was the only answer is the only simple answer I can tell you is that I was never lonely.
Mm.
It's
Yep.
my whole life was my children. I spent so much time with my children. I was like a part of their family. Bong wants me to be busy, so she gave me a job in the hospital. And then, I was always either I was with Inday or Laura or Buloy, and then I traveled a lot with all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, the whole world already.
So you worked in the hospital. I didn't know that. What were you doing
Yeah,
there?
I worked in the hospital.
Yeah. What were you doing there?
I was, what the internet nowadays do? That's what I did. That whenever a patient comes, I have to take his vital statistics, and
Yeah.
assign it to what room. And then if the doctor says, and I have to tell the doctor that your patient is here, and then if he will tell me that he needs an x-ray, then I have to call these people there from the x-ray department that this patient is here waiting for you. I mean, all that can do on the computer nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't even have to talk to a human
About
anymore.
that, the doctor can look at everything what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
you were.
simple.
So you touched down in the States. Was it Dallas that you were first living in? Is that
No,
where?
I lived in Inday first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Where was that?
in New Jersey. They lived in New Jersey at the time
Ah, with Dean and Dino and Jennifer.
with Dean and Dino. They were still young.
Yeah.
I used to bring Dino to and Jennifer Dino. I used to bring him to his hockey games.
He was a big hockey guy, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. He was still young. He was still in high school at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I used to bring him into his hockey games, and I watch him play the games, and then when it's time to go, I drive him back home. Yeah.
So you were driving around in New Jersey?
Yeah, I was driving around there.
Wow, that blows my mind. I've never seen you drive, Lola.
I really have been driving all
I'm
my
sure you
life.
have. I'm sure you've done a lot of driving, but it just blows my mind because I've never seen you behind the wheel before.
Yeah, I was driving in the States.
Yeah.
And then after the game, they'll tell me, it's a brutal game, Lola. Because she's like sweating there and she's so tired, and it's a very tough game.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that, because I never saw a hockey game in the Philippines before.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. There's no ice.
Do you know that I lived in the States for more than 20 years?
20 years. Wow.
More than 20 years.
Jeez.
Well, 20 years for a long time ago when lightning come.
That's Mason. That's little Mason. How old are you? 4 years old.
Wow.
Wow. Yes. Yes. You remember Lola, right? I'm just having a conversation with Lola. Yes. So for whoever's watching this, yeah, that was my son Mason, who is Lola's great grandson. Okay, so from New Jersey, how long did you spend in New Jersey with Tita Inday and Tita
I
Dean?
stayed with Tita Inday, but when Tita Inday got married, she went to the States.
Yep.
Then maybe she was busy with her new family. She did not get in touch with us for like how many years? Very many years. We lost touch of each other.
Yep.
Until the time when she asked me to come to the States to stay with her.
Yeah.
But that was really a good thing because you don't really grieve so much, because your mind is like diverted,
Yeah.
You don't stay in that house where everything you see around you reminds you of all those times that you were together and all this and all that.
Yeah.
So when I went to the States, it's like, oh, this is a new thing for me. Everything is new. My children are there to entertain me, to bring me to their parties, bring me everywhere. They like my company. I like their company too.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone's always enjoyed your company, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you were in New Jersey for how many years?
I stayed but when Bong came, because Bong was still in the Philippines, but she had a good job in the Philippines. But then, she was a nurse. When she went to visit me in New Jersey, where I was with Indy. So, but she went to visit her friends, and they were all doing well, her nursing friends. I said, oh my God, I'm in the wrong I should be working here. So she made up her mind right away. So, next thing I knew, she was in New York.
Wow.
We lived in New York at the time. She went to the hospital.
Yeah. And she started working as a nurse there, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
She worked in Columbia Presbyterian.
She came over with...
she gave me the...
Yeah. She came over with Janice and Tito Nonoy, right?
No, Tito Nonoy came last.
Ah, okay.
Only she came.
Right.
I was with Indy, but then, I was more familiar already with Bong because I spent more time with Bong than with Indy. So I'd go to Bong's place and I told Indy, I'll just stay with Bong for a while, but then I really stayed with Bong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was not really very comfortable there with Indy because I have not seen her for a long time and we're not even in touch with each other.
Yeah. Fair enough. And then so, I think you spent the most time with Tita Bong, didn't you? I mean, you spent a few years with her.
Laura. And then Laura also came.
And then Laura.
Yeah. I took care of their children. I was like, I helped in household chores. I took care of their children.
Yeah.
So I was really busy.
Mark and Amanda.
Yeah, Mark and Amanda. Imagine, since the time they were born, I took care of them.
Yeah. And how long did you stay with Laura, Tita Laura?
I think I stayed for about 14 years.
Wow.
I'm always traveling also all the time. I was there with them because of my privileges there with Tito Baloy.
Oh,
Because
right.
he
You work for
was
Japan
like,
Airlines? Was it
yeah,
Japan Airlines?
like Continental Airlines.
Continental, yeah.
So yeah, I go to visit my nieces and my cousins and wherever I went, somebody will bring me to the airport, somebody will meet me at the airport. So I was just having a great time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And then, Tita Lau passed away in
and that was how that
2005.
I grieved so much, and it was the worst tragedy that you can imagine.
Mm,
You losing your child.
yeah,
Even now when I think about it, my my eyes fill with tears because it's so sad and it's like unbelievable when you think about it. But then, how can that's like her destiny maybe?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, do you believe that everyone has a destiny, or do you believe that you make your own destiny, or do you believe that it's somewhere in between, or what's your take on?
I believe that all of us has a destiny. Yeah. But we don't know anything about it.
Mm,
It will happen when it's supposed to happen.
yeah.
Yeah. Look at me. I'm still around. I feel that's my destiny.
Well, I
Because
mean,
friends, they're all gone.
yeah, yeah. So a lot of your friends have probably passed
Yeah,
away, but I mean,
exactly.
you still. I think one of the things that's like you mentioned, keeping you going is because you have such a youthful outlook on life, and you're very very busy. You're probably busier than most people.
And when Laura died, my children here in Australia convinced me to come and live here,
Mm,
and that's what I did.
yeah.
So if I had stayed in America at the time, I would have been miserable.
Hmm.
So when I came here, I'm even happy here with four of my children too,
Yeah.
because they're all here around me.
Yeah.
We're always in touch with each other.
Yep. So you must be busy there. There's you live with Tita Nan right now,
Yeah,
in the
that's
granny
right.
flat, and Tita Mike
Tita Ma
and Tita
always comes
Batong are
pick me
nearby.
up
Yep.
sometimes on the weekends, brings me to her house,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and even Tito Batong.
Hmm.
His siblings are all very supportive of him, so he's still very much a part of the family.
Yeah. 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 And my dad lives on the other side of Australia, of course,
That's right.
but he did used to live in
Too far
Sydney.
away, but we're always talking to each other. If he doesn't call me, I call him.
Yeah. 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 That's right. So, I mean, now you're living in Australia. There's this oh,
Everybody
someone
will
needs to
ask
go to
me.
the potty. Anyway, so in Australia right now, there's this plebiscite, which is essentially like a vote on whether
Yeah.
or not homosexuals should be allowed to marry legally. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? I voted no.
Yeah.
Because why do they have to get married?
Mm.
They get along well living together before.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why? Because even the marriages between man and woman, it's not even sure that it will work out.
Yeah.
How can you be sure their marriage will work out too?
Yep.
They have been more divorces, and you know what? And the children that they adopt, it will be really crazy
Mm-hmm.
because if they just live together. There's not much story about it. They go on with their own life, and nobody really cares.
Mm-hmm.
But then if they are like a part of the community already, part of like like man and woman getting married. They have their own boys already. What how to bring up children and you know what? Even God Himself said that it should be like marriage between man and woman.
Did he say that? Okay. Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen in Australia? Do you think the Australians will vote as a general yes or no?
I don't know. I read the papers. It's like more, they're really campaigning
Yeah.
for yes.
Mm-hmm.
But then even the church is also campaigning that you should vote no.
Mm.
But well, let's see. Let's see. I don't know what will happen.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Although it really doesn't really affect me.
Yeah. That's true.
Because I have no children who are like gay or anything like that.
Mm.
Doesn't I don't know. I don't have any friends who are into that thing.
Yeah. Not that you know of, anyway. Okay, so what about these days in the States? Trump is the president, Donald Trump, and he's the headline almost every single day. If it's not the the war
North Korea.
or Korea, it's Trump. What's your take on Trump? What do you think about him?
I think because he was on TV, and it was a very popular TV. The Celebrity Apprentice, and I think he still thinks he is in that situation because every time he was controversial on that show, the ratings will always go up. And that's exactly what he wants, what he's doing now. Because, he will not commit, If you heard him say, oh, let's see, I can't tell you right now. People are like, what is he talking about? We don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he hates the newspaper men, the media.
It seems like a fight that he can't win, that one. Unless he declares some kind of a dictatorship and calls the end to open media or free media. The First Amendment.
Because even his Tillerson is a Secretary of State, I think. Mm-hmm. They're like on odds with each other now. He has fired so many people. Yeah, because, on TV, he say, you're fired.
That's his catchphrase.
He just say, you're fired. And he thinks he's still on TV. And he is after the ratings.
Yeah. And what do you think is going to happen with North Korea? So right now, what's happening for whoever's watching this in the future? There's almost a standoff or of sorts where North Korea are firing missiles. They're not nuclear missiles, but they're ballistic missiles over Japan. And who, of course, is an ally of the U.S. now, and America is telling them to stop, and Kim Jong-un is defying
Trump is
them.
giving insults. You don't insult the head of the country.
Rocket Man, right? He calls him Rocket Man.
You like diplomatic. If you are equal, and you try always to. You don't fire insults there for everybody to read, and that's what he thinks about this guy, and gives him names and all that.
Do you think that it's going to be?
I really like the way he's handling the situation.
Do you think that this is going to be the start of a world war or some kind of a war?
Yeah, but it's like Japan trying to get into America. It's a big country and it's a superpower, and you're just small. You will really lose. You cannot go against that, and that is what Trump is also trying to show him, that you cannot go against us.
Yeah.
Because he has how many his population like 360 million.
Mm-hmm.
And what about, and then his army is well organized, the army, the navy, all those things there at his disposal, the military. But what about all what North Korea has are the missiles?
Mm-hmm.
Although that can be dangerous because if it's like nuclear.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost one of the nuclear war, because we always think about it, what a nuclear war would look like, and we think about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but that was back in the World Wars, and the technology now is so much
That's not the war.
big. Yeah, but the technology now is so much bigger.
Too
I mean,
much,
I've read.
Can reach farther.
Yeah, so you can fire from further, so intercontinental missiles, and you can the explosions, the detonations are magnitudes higher. They're like 50 to 100 times greater than the bombs that went off in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So when you think about it, it's not just one city that's going to go. It's going to be total devastation, and that's just on one.
That is the
warhead.
It's really dangerous. It's a dangerous game that they're playing.
Yeah.
Both of them.
One of the
Korea, America.
Yeah. I mean, for all the talk about North Korea, there's also still this ongoing issue with the terrorists. Just now last week there was that mass shooting in Vegas, and of course it wasn't to do with terrorism, but in the classical sense of the word. But there was a lot of people thought it was. I guess my question is, how do you think that the Middle East and the Muslims in particular are going to be able to reconcile with the West? Because there's a lot of Westerners in the Middle East, and there's a lot of Middle Easterns in the West.
Charlie, you have to think that when Jesus came to earth to be a human being, he chose to go to be born in Middle East, and that's where he died, because he knew that there will always be trouble in the Middle East.
So you think that there's gonna be? So you think that there's no real solution, that we should just think, well, let's just agree on our differences and just walk away from each other? Is that what you think we should do?
I think that's what you should do, because you cannot. You know what happened there in Iraq? There's never an end there of that war. The Americans, they spent so much money, so many soldiers that died. But then up to now, it's not even a safe place to be.
Yeah.
And about Afghanistan, the same thing.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going to send soldiers there, they will just die. Because people there are desperate.
Yeah, it seems to be that, it's one thing toppling a dictator or going in there and looking for weapons of mass destruction or whatever, but it seems to be a lot of the time that us, when I say us, I mean the Allies, always leave it, and it's not in any kind of sustainable way where there's a local organized government, or there is one, but it's controlled by the Allies, and it doesn't seem to be it never we don't leave it and it starts to thrive. It always seems to be a shambles after we leave.
Because that's what happened also in North Korea and South Korea. They had to leave it because they could not stop. That is why there is that gap there. Because they could not stop the war. They cannot continue.
Yeah. And just run out of people to kill.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then the American public was very tired
Mm-hmm.
of war. They
Yeah.
don't want war anymore.
Yeah.
Their sons and their children getting killed by the war. That's not even. They have nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, look, we're at. I've got a couple of last closing questions. We're an hour and 15 minutes into the interview. I hope I haven't taken up too much of your time. But the one question that I think is it's on a lot of Filipinos' mind, or at least people who have a tie to the Philippines. But do you think there's ever a chance that the Philippines will, return to its former glory and prosper again?
I really don't know because, like just politicians, once you are in politics in the Philippines, you become corrupt because you want people to be on your side, and the only way to put them on your side is to be corrupt. Give them money, give them positions, give them authority to do this and that.
Yeah.
So I don't know who is going to be the president who can bring it back to where it was before.
Yeah.
Because imagine, we were called the Pearl of the Orient before. We never heard of Singapore or Malaysia or any of those places. Even the Philippine peso was so much higher than the Hong Kong dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now look at where we are. I think it's like $45 to 45 in exchange there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's really terrible. And you know what? These days, Duterte is killing all these people. And it's the poor people who's killing. He thinks that by killing them, nobody is going to buy drugs.
Mm.
But those people, they are poor. They have no means of income. So like they're desperate, and it's just like the cigarettes before. Because once they would prefer to have a cigarette than to eat because they're poor. A cigarette was cheap, cheaper than buying food.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds to me that something big. It can't just be business as usual, and we can't just wait for a savior to become president by some form of miracle, and then he straightens everything out. Right? I mean, it almost sounds like there has to be some kind of revolution, peaceful or not, for it to work properly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not easy to be president.
Oh.
People expect too much of you,
Yeah.
and you cannot deliver.
Yeah. That's right.
It's really hard.
Mm.
They kill people, especially the people who don't agree with them. They just kill them.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Marcos. I don't know if the same thing will happen to this guy who is now the president there in the Philippines.
Duterte.
Yeah.
Yeah, he must have a huge target on his back.
He already killed like more than 3,000 people. And they're all poor people.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My final question. One of my last questions is, what's your secret to remaining optimistic and upbeat? Is it how do you do that?
You know what? I have always, because I'm always in the company of my children, so more or less I'm in the company of younger people. It's more fun to be with the younger people because we are with the older ones. All what they talk about is the pains and the aches and all this and all that. But that's really just like part of being old,
Yeah. Yeah.
You cannot be like feeling fit all the time and you can hardly walk. You walk slowly, eat slowly.
Yeah. So hang out with young people is Lola's secret.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not young people because they're more interesting than the old people.
Yeah. Yeah. And my final question is, what is your secret to a happy marriage?
Well, I would say, I always tell Janice, do not have high expectations, because we are all different. Nobody, we are not perfect. And you cannot expect your husband or your wife to be perfect because they are just human beings too.
Mm.
And you did not live in the same atmosphere, the same family. Two families put together, different ways of doing things. You just have to compromise because it's the only really thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just have a sense of humor. Put humor in everything you do.
Have a good sense of humor and don't expect too much.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We're all different.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, very good, Lola. Thank you very much. You know what? We've covered quite a lot of ground here, but
Yeah, that's
I think
right.
we still have quite a lot to talk about. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to talk more about your life, just in depth about the kids, what your
Yeah.
message to us and to the kids and all that stuff. So, I mean, I'm not going to we won't do it now. Maybe we'll do it next week or something like that.
Yeah.
We'll be on
Anytime.
FaceTime. Yeah. But
Yeah.
hopefully I'll figure out a way to record.
You know what? I don't wanna talk to you like I'm like authority on this and that.
Lola,
Just
yeah.
simple life.
Yeah. Look, Lola,
I'm
you're...
happy to be in the company of my children who love. Oh, I feel like I'm being loved, and that's the one that really makes me go.
Yeah. Well, everyone, all of your children and all of your grandchildren and all of your great-grandchildren love you very much. And,
Thank you.
my... I can't wait to introduce you to Freddie and to so that you can meet Mason again. Maybe next FaceTime next week. I'll bring him so that you can FaceTime with him. All right. Well, hey Lola, thank you very much. And then I'll be in touch over the week, and then maybe we can organize another chat.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't. Well, you know what? That's what I was telling. I hope this interview is over because for 2 days I've been thinking and thinking of my life. I don't even think about the life that I lived before anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy here. Nancy keeps me company.
Yeah.
We eat lunch together every day, and we go to the movies, and I'm just happy to be with my children. That's the only thing I can say. Maybe that's what really keeps me going.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you sure led a full life, and thanks for your time. And then I'll be in touch over the week.
Yeah. Well, I hope you found my story interesting.
Yes, very, very interesting, and I'm sure I'm going to share this with our relatives. Not on Facebook or anything, but I'll probably do a Dropbox where they can download the video, and so that they can watch it as well.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That's the best legacy that I can give.
All right. I'll talk to you next week, Lola.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See ya.